It's funny that Willie mentions joy, Paul, because I get letters written to me in the last 2 weeks all the time, emails after my show, where people are saying, you're so naive to talk about this joy. What are you so excited about? Do you know that we're on the precipice of World War III and the problems around the world? Talk to us about where you think these campaigns are and where they should be, because this joy that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's ticket has created this great sense of optimism and inspiration in the country. And I don't take it as naive. We're not realizing how serious problems we have here or abroad are.
Well, it's a joy to back clean up in this lineup. This is a really good conversation with a bunch of people that I think understand the importance of energy. And I think energy is contagious. And bad energy can be contagious, and good energy can be contagious. And I think this country is hungry for good energy. So I think James is right, as he often is. But there's a real contrast here between weird and now cool. And there's also a contrast between nasty and honorable. And I think this has always been a fight over the middle. And the middle wants to believe in America. The middle was rooting for the people in the Olympics. The middle is rooting for people in Ukraine. And I think they want to root for a winner. And it feels like there's real momentum around these leaders, but there's also a very stark contrast in the kind of leaders they are, the way they talk to people, the way they act, not just their profiles, but their behavior. And I always look at it through the eyes of the dad of a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old boy. I want them to see leaders on TV they can look up to. And now there's a very clear contrast between these two tickets. And I think that's going to be especially important with independents and people who aren't diehard Democrats and Republicans. So it's not just about energy. It's also about numbers and votes and wins.
Paul, you know I'm going to ask you about this. Tim Walz, he addressed this week the criticism of his military record, and when he did so, he went out of his way to thank J.D. Vance for his military service. What do you make of this whole thing, Vance going after Tim Walz? And I'm not going to weigh in. What do you think?
I think just to start on Vance, he's not very good at this. Right. And I think that's what we're all finding out. I mean, he's making DeSantis look good. And you've got Trump, who's not as good at this as he used to be. And Kamala Harris seems to be better at this than many people expected, maybe. And Walz is doing pretty well out of the gate, too. So you've got this interesting clash now that is still always, in my view, going to be about a fight in the middle. And obviously turnout is going to be a key now with Kamala Harris. But these people, these couple million people in key swing states who are independent like me, who are unaffiliated, a lot of them are veterans, a lot of them are young people, and they're evaluating these candidates and looking to see who they trust and who they feel good with and who sets a good pace and a good tone. And I think this fight between Vance and Walz is something all veterans have been kind of fearing for a long time, because now it's the full weaponization of our services. And it's now up to them to determine how veterans will fight in politics. And Vance fired the first shot. It's a dirty shot. It's the swift boat shot that Republicans always do. And you should have seen it coming. If you didn't, then doom on you. And Tim Walz, who's been honorable, I've known for a long time, I've written a piece about him, had a choice to make. He can go down and hit hard below the belt, too, or he could go high. So he defended himself, and then he went high, and he tried to reset the tone. Now, we'll see if that works. I hope it works, because it's better for America. It's better for veterans. But we'll see over time if it works. And in the last couple of days, it seems like it is. And I think that's also cuts to the core of what veterans are looking for, but what America is looking for. We want people who can set a command climate and a tone that our country can be proud of. Because when you think about Trump, I just want to say, like, aren't you all sick of this? Aren't you ashamed? I mean, enough already for our country looking like this in the global stage. And Vance is just doubling down on all that.
And let's be clear, those aren't bottles of wine behind James. Those are at least 30 bottles of hard alcohol. I just want to point that out. That's not wine behind him. Okay? We're not talking Chardonnay. That's hard. That's brown liquor behind him. 30 bottles. Paul, what are you looking for next week?
Brown liquor.
And tequila and lots of other stuff. I want to make a recommendation that we do this next time at James's bar, or go down to the Jersey Shore and do it in a bar. But
it is the nightcap.
I think that's. You know, that is kind of what they have an opportunity to do at the convention, is make it more welcoming, like feel like let America feel like they're a part of it. And it's not just a broadcast, but it's a conversation. It's a movement. It's something bigger. And also, quite frankly, make it fun, make it entertaining. Like, I've been to both conventions for the last 20 years, and the Democrats always have better parties. They always have better music. I'm an independent, and I know that to be true. So I think adding the positive energy and keeping the momentum going is going to be key. Also, kind of reframing the Democratic Party. A lot of independents are still not comfortable with Harris or not comfortable with the Democratic brand. And this is a chance for them to make them more comfortable with that and to introduce Tim Walz as someone who could potentially be the commander-in-chief, who I think is a really masterful pick in a lot of ways because he's very much a populist. He's a progressive guy, but he sounds a lot like an independent in the way he talks about things. So if they weren't going to pick Mark Kelly, who's more moderate, or an independent or a Republican, which they would never do, I think Walz is the right kind of pick because he doesn't sound like a Democrat. And in this environment where half the country is independent, that's a real strength.
I am not letting these gentlemen go home until they give us their MVPs of the week. All right, guys, who in your mind won the week, had the biggest week? Paul, how about you?
Judge has had an amazing week. Willie, you're right. Soto had a pretty good week, too. I think Team USA added a lot of inspiration, a great week. Harris, Walz, huge week. But I don't think anybody's had a bigger week than the Ukrainian military. The Ukrainian soldiers, the Ukrainian men and women who have turned the tide of this war. This is what it looks like when the handcuffs are off. This is what it looks like when they're properly funded, when they have American F-16s and ATACMS, when they have the restrictions on where they can operate removed. Now they are pushing the pace. Russia is quibbling and really shaken by this. And I think they've been fighting and dying in the mud for years now, and they finally have some hope. And I think they're a team that we can all root for and celebrate and raise a glass of James's best to the Ukrainian military.